So it's been a while since you've seen me. Wanted to wish everybody in the United States a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow for those of you who celebrate it. Now on to the topic of the video. For those of you who do not know, I have switched back to the Mac, and it was primarily due to an assignment that I had to complete. I've completed said assignment, submitted it, haven't gotten a grade on it yet. Anyway, it's a good thing that I did, because there have been a number of things that have creeped up in terms of stability issues regarding the Toshiba with Linux Mint. And I was told that it was a bug primarily with Ubuntu, which Mint is based off of. But other distributions that I've looked at just didn't have the feel, the feeling that I wanted. And it's inconsistencies like that that made me think about the cons of open source and Linux. Open source is great because it encourages open development. There are some downsides, and understand, let me make this extremely clear, who I am speaking to before those of you who are technically savvy hit me in the face or whatever. Who I'm speaking to is the general consumer who just wants something to work. And that, believe it or not, is the majority of people. A lot of people may switch to Linux thinking it's going to be like Windows. They've heard about this great thing, Linux. They don't know what they're getting into. Okay? There are a lot of distributions out there that are trying to make it easier for people, but Zorin is one of them, for instance, that I've used. The only way to update Zorin, because it's so heavily based on Ubuntu, without accidentally going with Ubuntu in its place, you cannot update it directly from the Software Center, because it would basically replace Zorin with Ubuntu. So how do you replace Zorin when the next update comes out? You have to back everything up and reinstall the operating system clean. Okay? And that gets into that business about whether or not it just works. For instance, you just heard about having to reinstall the entire operating system just to update it. Now, I'm not saying everything's like that. That's just one example. Ubuntu, for instance, when I was trying to play something, it said that a codec was missing. Now, let's remember the market that I'm trying to address here, and that is people that just want things to work, don't really care about A, B, or C. They don't care about the technical side of it. As long as it works, that's what they want. And so they can't play the video and it says that a codec is missing. This type of person will more than likely ask, what is a codec? Where am I going to get it? Is it going to do anything to my system? And it is that with that I submit my second point, which is that it does require some technical knowledge. And there are many people from Windows, the Windows side, who are coming to Linux that may not realize this. They think, oh, it's going to be like Windows. No, it is not. A lot of people don't realize this. In fact, I read something recently that suggests that the reason there are so many viruses and pieces of malware on the web is because of those people that just click and click and click without even thinking about the security or the vulnerabilities of their computer. There are some people who don't even think antivirus is necessary. Your hardware may not support everything, and this I have a personal example with. I'm limited to the GNOME desktop because I need magnification. There's no way around it. Otherwise, I'm going to strain my back and my eyes. Unfortunately, KDE is so graphically rich that it sucks up all my integrated graphics card's features on the Toshiba laptop that I was running Linux on, to the point where I cannot effectively run the magnifier. Also, whenever I install a KDE distribution, the sound fails. It works perfectly as a live install, but then when I install it to hard disk, it doesn't work. And yes, I know there's a way to fix it, but as a graduate student, I don't have time for that. I've got to get my assignments done. And that, again, like I was saying earlier, people that just want things to work. Students, teachers that need to get their lesson plans into their administrators. This is where I think the Mac really has propelled because Apple speaks to that market, especially in the form of the iPad. Somebody who doesn't know anything about technology could pick it up, and it's as easy to use as anything. Okay? And that's the type of market I'm trying to address here, why I put together this video. So KDE, we covered that. Unknown hurdles. Because of the open nature of Linux and open source software, you've got many people coming together from many different walks of life, many who may have never communicated with each other. Let's say, for instance, you've got a piece of software that you want to download, and nobody's told you, oh, it was optimized for the KDE desktop. Well, it could run in the GNOME environment, but would it run well? What sort of hurdles would you have? And in some instances, if you really want that piece of software, you're going to have to install a whole new desktop. These are things that a lot of people don't want to have to mess with. Updates can be confusing for some people. For instance, you may notice some updates that have to do with Python. Well, what the heck is Python? I know it's a snake. I don't know, a lot of people don't know that it might be a programming language. And a lot of people just don't want to mess with that. They would rather, there are some that do, but there are many that do not. Oh, and one final thing that I forgot to mention. Did you know that in a lot of instances, yes, you can get a preloaded Linux system, but if you're not comfortable with shopping online, you're basically out of luck. You've got no choice but to go get a Windows PC and put Linux on it. And again, with the type of audience that I'm addressing here in this video, how many people would be willing to do that? I mean, you've got Windows, why not just use Windows? Because it works, it's there, let's use it, because I need to get stuff done. I need to get papers into my boss. I need to get my project into my teacher. That's the type of audience that I think Apple does a really good job speaking to, and, it's just easier. I myself, and I'm going to put a separate video on this, but I just wanted to say this. I myself am a decade long Mac user, and I plan to make a video on what systems I've been using when, what drove me to the Mac, why I'm still a Mac user. That's a different video. But I have been a Mac user for a decade. I've tried Linux the last year or two, and I've come back to the Mac with the realization that things just work. And when it comes to needing to get work done, which would you rather have? A system that just works or a system that just has hurdles that you have to address? And again, we're talking about somebody who is not very technically savvy, or somebody who, like myself, doesn't have the time, maybe technically savvy, but doesn't have the time to sit down and figure out what the problem is, because they've got to get their homework in. How do you guys feel about that? Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.